any personal exchanges, and so on and so forth. Before we start, to give you time to speak, we need to confirm from you a few things, whether you have, do you have your tax clearance certificate from KRA?
Yes, I have.
You'll show the clerks the originals after I have gone through the list.
Okay.
Do you have your Higher Education Loans Board clearance?
Yes, I have.
Do you have a clearance from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission?
Yes, I have.
Do you have a certificate of good conduct from the DCI?
Yes, I have.
Have you ever been charged and convicted in a court of law?
No.
Are you a dual citizen of Kenya and any other country?
I'm a citizen of Kenya, not any other country.
You don't hold a passport of any other country?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever been adversely mentioned in any parliamentary committees?
No, Chairman.
Have you associated yourselves with any practices that depict you as biased, favoritism, nepotism in the discharge of public duties?
No, Mr. Chairman.
At a personal level, what is your net worth in terms of personal fortune?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am worth approximately 80 million.
8 or 80?
80.
80.
80, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Made up as?
I have my residence where I stay. I also have, Mr. Chairman.
In Nairobi?
No, in Nakuru.
In Nakuru.
In Nakuru. I also have various parcels of land. And also, I have invested in various investment groups and circles. So that's where I get my earning from, Mr. Chairman.
Right. I'll give you the opening opportunity. 10 minutes. If you take less, the better. To tell us who is Zacharia Njeru.
Thank you, Chairman. As you've correctly mentioned, my name is Zacharia Njeru. I am married with children, and I'm also a grandfather. Mr. Chairman, I was born and raised in Kivumbini Estate, which is within Kivumbini Ward, Nakuru East Sub-County, which is in Nakuru County. I started my education journey at Bondeni Primary School, which is also within Kivumbini Ward. Then I proceeded to Nakuru Day Secondary School, which is also in Nakuru East Sub-County. Thereafter, I went to Nyandarua High School for my A-levels. After my A-levels, Mr. Chairman, I was admitted at Moi University, where I pursued a bachelor's degree in information sciences. I enrolled for a master's degree, a master's program degree in public management and administration. And I was also privileged, Mr. Chairman, to undertake a senior management and strategic leadership program at Kenya School of Government. Mr. Chairman, I started my working career in 2008 as a sales administrator at DT Dobi, Nakuru. Thereafter, Mr. Chairman, I joined Medson Insurance Company, where I started my 9 years journey in that industry. Later on, Mr. Chairman, I got engaged as a regional manager in charge of the entire Rift Valley with Blue Shield Insurance Company. Mr. Chairman, in 4 years, I rose from a business development executive to a regional manager, and thus is testament to my hard work in a very competitive industry. Mr. Chairman, I was privileged to be nominated as a councillor at the defunct Municipal Council of Nakuru. In that role, Mr. Chairman, I chaired the Public and General Purpose Committee, and I also chaired the Public Health and AIDS Committee. That is where I began my over 10 years career in the public service. In 2015, from 2015, Mr. Chairman, I've been a sub-county administrator at the county government of Nakuru. My experience, Chairman, in both public and private sector has fully equipped me with skills that have made me ready to tackle this Herculean task ahead of me. Mr. Chairman, I have led teams to achieve targets in, within timelines and with restrained resources. Mr. Chairman, over the years, I have taken myself as a team leader and as a go-getter. And that's what, Mr. Chairman, has made me do well in whichever areas that I have engaged in. It's also good to let you know, Mr. Chairman, that Kivumbini Estate is a slum. And I'm telling people that I'm a good example of what the bottom up portrays. Mr. Chairman, that is Zacharia Njeru.
Thank you, Zacharia. I'll open up to the committee to engage you. Sure. We'll start with the Deputy Speaker. We'll ask you questions or comments in batches of 4. You note and answer after the 4th one.
Good afternoon, and congratulations to you, Mr. Zacharia Njeru, on your nomination for the position of Cabinet Secretary for Lands. As you know, lands is Kenya's biggest resource. What is your understanding of what ails the land sector in Kenya, and what do you believe needs to be done in order to overcome those challenges? You must have had the conversations with lawyers upon our land system being collapsed into one land system, the changes that are going on in the Registered Land Acts and the previous land system. So we'd like to understand your understanding and your strategies. It's very important. Thank you.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Chair. Because I didn't introduce myself, my name is Kimani Shongwa, MP Kikuyu. Sorry, I did. I did, sorry. Mr. Njeru, you have heard of Embakasi Ranching Company in Nairobi. Yes. And I've gotten very many texts on my phone from people who are looking for a cabinet secretary who will have the zeal and the determination to sort out the issue of Embakasi land buying company. Maybe that is by way of comment, but my question on land is the land fragmentation. I would want to hear what you intend to do or what your plan is on the question of land fragmentation, especially where we are seeing a lot of good arable land for food production is being subdivided into plots of 30 by 66 or 33 by 66. Now it's come down from 40 by 80 to 33 by 66 for housing, and where that sits vis-a-vis the Kenya Kwanza agenda on housing. What's your view on that question of land fragmentation, and how you'd utilize your housing docket, since your ministry now encompasses both land and housing, to sort out the issue of land fragmentation? Thank you, Chair. I think that's what I have for now.
Yes, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Wanda.
May I?
Go ahead, go
Okay.
ahead. It's a sequence.
Yes, Mr. Njeru. I've been trying to reconcile your background, both in academics and professional, with the fact that you've been nominated to lead this very vast and crucial docket of lands, housing, and urban development. And I don't seem to succeed in that reconciliation. Firstly, from this background of yours, which appears to suggest that you have got a fairly limited worldview. Because from DTW is insurance, and then County Council of Nakuru, and ward administrator. What competencies, what skill sets, what experience are you bringing on the table to be able to deal with this very complex docket in these very challenging times in our country? Secondly, in my search, because I tried to do some due diligence, I came across some matter here in the Court of Appeal, Civil Appeal number 9 of 2012. If it's not you, fine. But if it is you, it'll help us understand what it's all about. Zacharia Njeru, appellant, versus Joseph Wachira Kanoga, the respondent. This is a matter that was adjudicated upon and the judgment entered into on the 26th of June 2014 by Justice J. Wakiaga. In this matter, it appears that you are found to have caused a serious road accident which occasioned serious injuries under some very unclear circumstances. Could that have been informed by your poor judgment, poor sense of judgment, or some kind of problem that we may not have been aware of, or the appointing authority may not have been aware of? Please help us understand more about it. Thank you.
Robert Mbui.
Thank you, Chair. First, at the end of the introduction by the nominee, he mentioned the words that is what bottom-up portrays. I would like him to clarify that because I really didn't get that. But having said that, when the Kibaki administration came into office, there was a lot of excitement, and they came up with a banner that obviously said, "Land grabbers beware." And you remember that land grabbers, in fact, returned a lot of title deeds that they had illegally acquired, including a lot of parcels along the procession away from State House to Uhuru Park. Now, I want you to tell us, how will you deal with those individuals that have grabbed or bought public land and put up investments, hotels, apartments, and other very expensive investments on those properties that belonged to the Kenyan people? How will you handle that in that docket? Thank you.
Yes, Zacharia, you can answer those, respond to those four.
Thank you very much.
Then we'll take another batch.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. I'll start with the last question from Honorable Mbwe. When I talk of bottom-up, Mr. Chairman and honorable members, I know you will all agree, and this is a question that most people are asking. Who is Zacharia Njeru? So what I mean here, Mr. Chair, is that the bottom-up appreciates that people who are not known, people who are not in the limelight, can also be nominated to various positions. Two, about the issue of land grabbing. I believe the government works with what I call R squared, P squared. Rules, regulations, process, and procedure. If we have individuals who have titles and they never followed proper process to acquire those pieces of land, then as a CS, I'll make sure that those titles are possessed back. So it's just a matter of how those titles were acquired. If they were not acquired procedurally, then I'll treat them as papers. Now, the other question was skills and competence to deal with my docket. From my introduction, I have indicated that I have experience in both public and private sector.
Chair, this side. Point of order.
Yes, Daud. Honorable Daud.
The nominee has just mentioned, answering Mheshimiwa Mbui, that he will treat those titles as just papers. Is he certain that he will just treat it as papers without going to court? Because as far as I know, only a court of law can cancel a title and not the minister. So can he explain to us more on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Point of order, Chair. On a further clarification on my side.
Yes, Mole.
I've just heard the nominee, as he responds to Honorable Mbui, say that if he looks at those title deeds and they were acquired in a manner which is not right, he will cancel or he look them as a paper. Are you not contradicting the appointing authority, which just pronounced themselves the other day that they will be looking on a way to negotiate on such lands?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I said that, I really didn't mean that I will shred. What I said is that, to me, we, as a ministry, will take the necessary legal actions to prove that those titles are not legit. We know, Mr. Chairman, we have so many double allocations. We have titles that have been generated away from where they're supposed to be. So what I'm saying, Chairman, is that we'll make sure we go through all those titles, and those that are found not to be legitimate, then we'll take proper legal action. About the accident of 2022, Mr. Chairman, that's something that had escaped escaped me. It's true, I had an accident, and what I want to assure these members and through the chair is that actually I was coming from the graduation of my wife from Meru, and then past Nyanyuki somebody who just crossed the road, and that accident occurred. Thank you.
Accident of 2022?
Yes.
He talked about
2012. 2012. Sorry,
yes.
sorry.
He talked about a case of 2012.
2012.
You haven't answered my first question.
Which one?
On the competencies, skill sets, and experience you are bringing to bear.
Yes.
On this very docket.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I said I am a team player. I said I'm a go-getter. Mr. Chairman, I know I'll be working with qualified and competent personnel within the ministry, and I'm sure with them, my work as a cabinet secretary will be to offer leadership, to come up with policies which will be implemented by the people I'll be working with. I'm a quick learner, Mr. Chairman, and I know I'll be able to catch up and offer the leadership that is needed in that ministry.
Chair, on a point of order, maybe because I can see the nominee struggling to explain his skill set, what the Honorable Pio probably is asking, you have a bachelor's degree in information sciences.
Yes.
In view of the digitization program and processes that at the Lands Ministry,
yes,
how does that sit with your skills? Do you have the relevant skills?
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Is that assisting?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I want to explain a bit about this course, information sciences. Information sciences is divided into 4 fields: information technology, archives and records management, library science, and publishing and book trade. Mr. Chairman, I have the IT skills, and more so, I specialized in records and archives management. And I believe what we really need most, especially at the State Department of Land, is proper records and archives management. And those skills, Mr. Chairman, I'll take them to that department.
Good. Next batch, Mishi, Daoud, Osing, Rahab. Had you raised your... Okay, I'll come to you.
Thank you, Chair. To the nominee, in this country, we have been hearing so many reports in terms of land issues: the Ndungu report, the Krigler report, the Waki, the TGRC report. All these reports have come strongly because of historical land injustices. And even one of the reasons why we created National Land Commission was because of historical land injustices. So far, the previous regime have done little to address this issue. I don't know how different you're going to do in collaboration with National Land Commission to ensure that this issue has been addressed. The other thing I want to talk about, we have seen a lot of cases of fraud in terms of land. There's so many petitions lying in the Bunge right now. I've been in the Committee of Land for the 5 years. We have so many petitions, we have so many inquiries, and so many issues regarding land. One of the issues or the option which the previous regime opted to do to ensure that at least they minimize land fraud was the issue of digitization of the land registry process and also digital titling. I don't know whether the Kenya Kwanza government will still proceed on this option, and if they are going to do so, for how long will Kenyans realize this process, shifting from the analog, going to digital, so that at least we can have some efficiency? I thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, before I ask my questions, there is this CV in Mr. Mwangi's in the folder. I just want him to maybe later to tell us, where it says salary remuneration, you have written negotiable. 2015 to date, you're still doing your master's. It's now 7 years down the road. Because I've done master's, I know it finished in 2 years. PhD is what is allowed 9 years. So I'm wondering, how long will this master's will you finish? The other thing is the past employment you have quoted. I've been a councillor myself, and you were a councillor. No, I was elected, you were nominated. But after 2007, when you were regional manager for Blue Shield, during your councillorship, because even mayor is there, we still had our own businesses or we were working. So were you just a councillor completely without doing anything else? You have not quoted that. Now let me come to my question. In Kenya, we've got many, many informal settlements, and some settlements do not have even title deeds. Like mine in Meru, Shauri Yako. I'm not telling Shauri Yako, it's Shauri Yako. So, and there are informal settlements where we need, like Kibra, Mukuru kwa Jenga, Majengo in Meru, Nairobi, and others in Mombasa, and all over the country, Mjini, Salama. What plan, if you do make it to the ministry, do you think you will have a slum upgrading project for those informal settlements? And what will be the result of the other housing which will be there in the counties as well? How will you do with the counties? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The nominee. Again, I'm David Kosing, MP for Pokot South in West Pokot County. And Mr. Chair, this is a very fundamental ministry, monumental and controversial ministry. A lot of issues. Nominee, I wanted to prepare your mind on that one. And I saw the president moved housing from transport. It used to be in transport. And I used to chair a transport committee in Parliament. So it moved from transport to housing now, and lands and housing. Yes. And he went on to say he will be going on to do affordable housing, which is a very crucial thing in this country in terms of providing housing for the people of Kenya. Mr. Chair, my reading is, and I want to ask the nominee, how that housing, and it was there in last government, but mainly that housing will only benefit urban people, urban centers, towns, and maybe the low end will be municipalities. Most of us and myself, I represent rural constituencies. So what will it be for the rural people if this House finds you fit to approve you for this position? What will it be for the rural? Or shall we be then dividing our country into serving the urban people and forgetting the rural people? So what do you think will be housing for the rural people? Thank you, Chair.
It was Mishi, Daoud, Posing, Mukami. Oh, Mukami, not, I thought I saw you. But you can surrender to Ferdinand as your name.
No, I can't share.
You can't.
Thank you, Chair. The nominee Mwangi, congratulations. I want to confess that I know you. I met you many years back. And you reaching where you are today, it's not an easy task.
Thank you.
Now, I want to ask you one question. I'm sure you are familiar with Kenya Kwanza manifesto, and you know one of our agenda is affordable housing. What are some of the incentives you plan to put in place to make housing more affordable in line with Kenya Kwanza? The other thing is about the mortgage. Because I'm sure, and I saw our President, William Samoei Ruto, the other day in Mukuru, Kayava, because we want to make sure that those poor people who are living in slums like you. What are we going to do to make sure that they'll be able to take mortgages and pay those houses? Thank you.
Can I answer those Zacharia?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll start with the last one from Honorable Mukami. It's true, I know about the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, especially on affordable housing. The incentives that I'll come up with, although they're still there, I will only try to make sure that they are hastened, is that I will engage the public-private partnership, which is already there. What I will do, Mr. Chairman, is to make sure that we get more of PPPs. And as a government, we also try to give incentives to those PPPs so that the construction of houses is less expensive. Once those houses are less expensive, then it will mean the low-income earners will be able, Mr. Chairman, to afford. Two, as a government also, we will give incentives in terms of infrastructure. When developers come, we give them the horizontal, what we would call horizontal infrastructure, that is roads, sewer, water, electricity, and all that. And where possible, Mr. Chairman, we also provide land. Once we do that, it will mean that the cost of coming up with those houses will actually be affordable. Mr. Chairman, also, there is this concept of rent to own. This is something that, Mr. Chairman, we are going to encourage so that the same amount of money they pay for the rent, the same money will be paid to own the house as mortgage. On the issue of mortgage, it is true this has become a problem and very costly, but we also engage through KMRC, that is Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company. We try and facilitate that government agent to have more funds through pension funds. We can talk to the pension funds so that they can also help us come up with a fund that developers and financial institutions will be getting money from. Rural housing problem from Honorable Poxy. It's a bit difficult to pronounce. Yes, of course, we have the Rural Housing Loan Fund, and which is actually, it's managed by National Housing Corporation. So this is to make sure that the rural people know about it. Then we come up with the modern technology to facilitate the rural people to come up with houses which are decent and with less cost. Thinking of like in Kisii, Nyamira, mostly they build houses using blocks. And we have the hydroform machines, which, Mr. Chairman, are portable, meaning in a village, they can be taken to so many areas where the raw materials is available. You use less cement, and the technology is not complicated. One, that will create employment to the rural young people. And that way, Mr. Chairman, rural people also benefit from decent and affordable good housing. Masters, I'm going to Mheshimiwa, the word. It's true, I enrolled in 2015 for my master's. But I have a long history and story, Mr. Chairman, as to why I've not been able to graduate. Actually, the only part remaining is my thesis. The rest I've done, but due to some situations, I'm unable to do that. But that is work in progress. I'll clear that soon. Informal settlement, slums upgrading and all that. Mr. Chairman, it's true we have, due to influx of rural, urban settlement, we have come up with informal settlements and slums. And one thing I'll do once this committee approves me to go to this ministry, I will support programs that are geared towards improving the lives of people living there. We have programs like KISIP, Kenya Informal Settlement Improved Programs. We have the KENSAP, Kenya Slum Upgrading Program. These programs, once they are supported, they play a big part in making sure that people living in those slums and informal settlements live a decent life. Also, the government should formalize, because once we should agree that most of these informal settlements, it's hard to get them away from that. So it's for the government. I will come up with programs which will upgrade in terms of infrastructure. We come up with good roads. We provide sewer and all that. So that is something which is doable. And Mr. Chairman, I will strive to do that.
Thank you. Before I take another bite, did you answer the question from Ichungu about Embakasi ranching?
And he didn't answer mine as well, Chair.
Yes.
Of title deeds. And Honorable Mishi.
Yes.
Title deeds.
It's good, Zacharia, if you write the questions,
yes,
then you answer them.
All right, thank you. Yes. From Honorable Ishongwa, it's true I've heard about the Embakasi ranching scheme. Mr. Chairman, this is something that has been ongoing for long, and I promise once I am in office, Mr. Chairman, if approved, to take this docket. This is something I know it's a hot issue, and I promise to look at it and see how far it has gone. I promise to handle that once I'm in office.
Yes, we'll take the next batch.
There was also, Chairman, the issue of digitization. There was a issue of title. It's true, Mr. Chairman, the issue of digitization was raised by Honorable Mishi, and it is something that has started. I know there are people who might not be happy with it, Mr. Chairman, but when coming up with any new system, there are issues that stand out which don't necessarily please people. But at the end of the day, automation is the way to go. Digitization is the way to go. The hiccups which have been there, Mr. Chairman, I promise once I'm there, I'll do system audit, see where we are not right. And once that is done, Mr. Chairman, it will be the easiest way to do things, especially in the lands registry. So mine is to say that the process has begun. I know there are hiccups, but I promise to look into it after doing a system audit. Thank you very much.
We'll have Owen Bayer, Ferdinand.
Honorable Speaker, a very sensitive question has been missed in terms of answering me. The issue of the historical land injustices, I've talked about the reports I was expecting to hear from the nominee that this is what he's going to do. Maybe we'll come up with a bill to ensure that the historical land injustices issue can be addressed, or maybe he's going to look on these reports and what will be a way forward from the Kenya Kwanza government. Because Kenya Kwanza government, during your campaign, you pledge a lot of things in terms of land, especially in the Rift Valley and Coast region. So we want to hear on that. Please, excuse.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It's true, there have been reports concerning land injustices in Kenya. We've had commissions, TGRC, we have had the Ndongo report, we have so many reports. Mine is to assure the honorable member, Mr. Chairman, that I will not sit on those reports. We'll go through them as a ministry and take appropriate action. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Owen Ferdinand Murugara Amisi Raso.
Thank you, Speaker and Chairperson. Mr.
More, so ask one question each.
Okay. Zacharia, nice to meet you here. The reason why the ministry has not succeeded, because I have been part of the Lands Committee in this parliament for the last 5 years, is conflict between the National Lands Commission and the ministry. And this has impeded progress in both the National Lands Commission and the ministry. I'll ask more of an aptitude question. What is the one distinction between the ministry and the NLC, and where do they meet? So that you're aware, we are aware that you can actually steer the land docket very, very well. And also, Mr. Speaker and Chair, officers in the Ministry of Lands have also been one of the greatest impediments and have created squatters left hand and right because they allocate land to themselves instead of, especially in settlement schemes, instead of giving it to the people. And the issue that Mishi is raising, the HLI, the historical land injustice question, is a big issue. And the Kenya Kwanza, I think the president has pronounced himself that he is going to buy land and give to the squatters. But if ministry officials and big people in this country are always the beneficiaries of these schemes, how are you going to put a stop and ensure that land goes to the people? But what is the biggest distinction between the Ministry of Lands and the National Lands Commission? If you understand that, then I think I will vote for you.
Ferdinand,
I'll vote for you. You'll not. Zacharia.
Point of order, Chair.
No, Zacharia, no, that's not important.
Point of order, Chair.
Yes, Mole.
I want to urge members, please, we still have the latitude to say that. He's a nominee. We are here
joking.
to vet. Please.
It's just joking. Oh, come on. Zacharia, I want to take you right to the rural area, particularly where I come from and where most members of parliament come from. We have this family, you have a family of maybe 10 boys, no, not 5 boys for that say from a rural area where I come from. Those are the boys in the family. And you have land, say 30 acres of land. Then, of course, along the time, you subdivide that land according to the, as a boy gets married, you supply, there's no jobs, you subdivide until there's no more land to subdivide. Out of 30, maybe you have now left with 5 acres. What are you going to do if you become a minister to be able to stop this? Because I'm taking this, I had a chance to go to South Africa, and we drove from Johannesburg to the West Orange Free State. And what we were seeing is that families are now living in the villages and living part of the land for cultivation. And I think if you remember, maybe most people here are not there, Mzee Nyerere, the president of the Republic of Tanzania at one time, talked about Vijiji Ujamaa, where people stay in the villages and leaving the area for cultivation. The problem today, 20 years to come, if we just leave it like that, we will not have land for cultivation. What will your ministry do if we put it there as a minister for lands?
George Morugara.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, first and foremost, I think we need a clarification from him regarding the case and the accident he talked about. And he has said he used to work with Madison Insurance, which means he knows about subrogation. That after the accident, did you report to your insurance company? Did they take over the defense of your case? And therefore, what is appearing today should only be your name. But the real defendant is the insurance company, the appellant. That you need to clarify so that nobody says you got court cases hanging all over, and we've actually let that pass. Number two, title deeds are sacrosanct. They are not mere pieces of paper. Whichever way they are, and my two questions relate to title deeds, whichever way. Number one, my constituents, Tharaka, half of the constituency is not titled. And that is very unusual, especially for a constituency from the Mount Kenya region. Will it be your policy that in the next 5 years, areas where citizens do not have title deeds are actually given title deeds because of what we have said about them? The converse of that in the same Tharaka, in some areas, we have residents who live on land where they have no titles themselves. But other people, absentee, possibly because of their positions, actually have titles over those lands. The scenario is we have people, the locals who live on the land without titles, and absentees who have titles but have no land. What is your position, or what will be your policy as regards to solving such matters in the most expeditious manner, so that these citizens are also able to live with the title deeds in respect of the land?
Missy?
Thank you. Yeah, the TGRC report, a very comprehensive report, sought to address these historical land injustices in this country once and for all. And especially on ownership. Ownership of this land in this country is as some kind of unfairness where people just have large tracts of land idle. If you fly, I don't know if you've flown to Europe, if you are landing, you will see from above large fields of agricultural land and a patches of residential. So that land is left for agriculture. In fact, it is given to only individuals who can do agriculture. And if you can't do, the government does. Then the rest of the small fields is left for, for residential, like towns. If you come to Kitala, very arable land that was even sought by the white settlers, it is full of gated communities now. Now people have nowhere to, you can't get large tracts of land now in Kitale. And in so many more places. I don't know, you are coming in at, land issue is emotive, and we want serious, serious progressive changes that is even going to disturb the stubborn status quo. Those who have the land, even the appointing authority, you need to face them in the eye and say this is wrong, and they do the right for the country.
Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Njeru, if the House approves your nomination, you will be occupying one of the largest dockets in the land, where you will be addressing the issue of land. Land is a major factor of production. And I come from the arid and semi-arid lands. And I represent almost 70% of the landmass of Kenya. While the people might be few, but actually they are the owners of the largest tracts of land. The problem is this land does not belong to them because they do not have any titles, and there's no ownership. So many will believe it's just vast land. But they are the owners, the inhabitants, the customary owners. My first question to you is, what is your belief or philosophy on the community land? And what measures are you likely to put in place for operationalization of Article 63 of the Constitution? A subsidiary question is on boundary. A lot of altercations between communities, even in those agriculture areas, is about boundary. More so, it is more attenuated or even more pronounced in the ASAL areas between different warring communities. What is your belief on boundary? And in case you are faced with a situation, what are you likely to go about in doing to make sure that issue of boundaries are eventually resolved in the life of the Hasla government that is likely to be there, I think, for the next 20 years? Thank you, Chair.
I think you can proceed to answer those questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The issue of boundaries among communities, that's true, it has been an issue in our country. And as a ministry, Madam Chair, we will make sure that proper demarcation is done by involving the locals themselves. I believe that once we involve people, groups which are in conflict, if we bring together and facilitate talks and negotiations, I know most of these boundary problems among those communities without any interference will come to an end. My philosophy in community land, it's very unfortunate that people claim to own land, yet they don't have that security of tenure, which is the title. I promise that once this committee approves my nomination, some of these issues I will handle properly and make sure that people are proud to own the land that they say is theirs. There's no way land will be yours when you don't have that security of tenure, which is title. Maybe I just mention on my accident. It's true, when I got being an insurer, I know the processes that one has to do. Once you're engaged in any accident, the first thing is to report to the police and to the insurance company. So that was actually handled purely by the insurance company that had insured me. About titles, it's also unfortunate that people with big land and maybe even their absentee landlords have titles in Tharaka and many other parts of this country. While the hustlers, the people who actually are the majority, can't claim ownership of the parcels of land they live in, I am promising that once I get into the office, those are some of the teething issues that I will handle. Because with the title, people are able even to acquire funds to advance and do other things. So that one thing I'm promising you, Mr. Chair, that once I get into office, is something that I will handle. About the subdivision of land, I know there is a national spatial plan, and it's for 30 years. I think it came into place in 2015 and supposed to run up to 2045. This national spatial plan is meant to organize and integrate planning nationally. So with this, I will work hand in hand with county governments to make sure that their physical department also, whatever they do at the county levels, conforms with what the National Spatial Plan says. That way, we'll be able to have areas set for farming and other areas set for settlement. Conflict between the National Lands Commission and the ministry. I know the purpose. The purpose of the National Lands Commission is to handle issues to do with historical injustices, and also to be able to handle public land. I know there have been conflicts, but I believe the best way to handle this situation is to have a conversation because at the end of the day, we are there to serve Kenyans. So once we sit down, talk, we will agree to disagree, and finally we'll come up with gray areas and see how best we can sort out those problems. And because at the end of the day, there's no competition. We are all serving the same Wanjiko. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We'll have the Deputy Speaker, then we'll have Junet, we'll have Naisula and Koech. Yes, Russell?
Thank you, Chair. I think it is polite for honorable members not to remove the tags on their desks.
Yes.
The nominee actually is almost strange to know who is who. It is polite.
That's why I said even when you raise your attention to the chair, raise your tag. I still see some of us raising our hands.
Yeah, but there's a very important thing, Speaker. You know, some of us are short. And even the chairs, the way they are, they sink you. Yours is better. Ours sink us. So when you put here, nobody sees me. So I asked my colleague, Honorable Murugara, who is my lawyer, to remove his, and he did. So let him not return, Honorable Speaker. We can't see. Thank you, sir.
In that order.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Chair. Mr. Njeru, I know you were at the Lands Office yesterday. Was it yesterday?
Yes.
And you went, looked around.
Yes.
As many lawyers will tell you in Nairobi, we've had great difficulty with the Lands Office. Conveyancing matters are not moving at all. One, because all the Nairobi registry files were taken to the 10th floor of Ardhi House and are being manned by KDF and NIS. So the question is, did you manage to go to the 10th floor yesterday when you were there? Did Farida Karonei tell you why those files were moved to the 10th floor to the exclusion of the professionals in the Lands Office that have been doing it for years and years? Have they told you how they plan to undertake the handing over of those files from KDF, which is irregular, to you if you do get approved by this committee? And also, did she explain to you why she started an haphazard movement of files from the Nairobi Central Registry to the counties without having any archives in the counties and without having sufficient staff members in the counties? So actually what I expected you to tell us when you come here today is how you're going to do.
Chair, what I wanted to ask the nominee is something that has really was something that I was unable to understand for many years. Chair, in the registry, there is the National Land Registry at Ardhi House. And then there was district land registries. The question that I'm unable to understand, all the way to Nairobi, to do search, to do all that kind of thing, Why is land in Mandera or land in Kisumu registered in Nairobi Land Registry? And I think that is the basis of land grabbing in Kenya. Somebody somewhere here in Nairobi, from independence up to now, wants to control the whole land of Kenya from Nairobi, so that he can choose which one to steal, which one not to steal, which one to leave for the public there. Me, I think that matter should be addressed. If I buy a piece of land in Migori or in Kakamega, I should be able to register my land in Kakamega, and I should get my title in Kakamega. I don't need to be told, come to Nairobi to get your title, and then you start running from one floor, ground floor, up to 10th floor, 15th floor, 12th floor in Ardhi House. So Banasias, the nominee, please tell me why land in Migori is registered in Nairobi.
If shall I go first?
Yes, go.
Okay, thank you. If you look at I'm here, Banazak. If you look at the left, I'm right here.
Okay.
It will be helpful also if you look at the light.
Okay, all right.
It will come on. If you look at the manifesto, the plan, the Kenya Kwanza administration has a plan of improving our mortgage from 30,000 people per year to about 1 million. By the way, this will really ease the problem of land in Nairobi. It doesn't make sense why a piece of an acre in Upper Hill will go to almost $1 billion now, yet we can improve on our mortgage. If you can just tell this committee, what are the plans that the Kenya Kwanza administration have on how to improve that mortgage from 30,000?
Previous regime had a deliberate and intentional program called the National Titling Program under the leadership of His Excellency the President, former President Uhuru Kenyatta. And it was a deliberate move to see that parts of this country where people did not own titles actually have titles. As it has clearly been said, owning a title is a means of production. It helps in so many things. I cannot underscore the importance of it. And there's a lot of work that is pending in some of the counties that the program had started. I would like to know whether you have such plans to continue with the work that was started, and whether the Kenya Kwanza is willing to continue with the program, because for the first time in Samburu, women were able to actually own titles. And you might think it's a joke, but Maralal town, only 10 people, 10 people own titles, and the process was ongoing. I just want to know whether there are intentions to continue with the National Titling Program so that Kenyans can actually own title deeds. And to reiterate on what Honorable Junet has said, there are many, this thing of people having to travel all the way to the headquarters, former headquarters, Nakuru, Nyahururu, Nairobi, to go and deal with matters land. There are registries that are complete. The only thing that is being awaited is the sending of officers, registrar. How fast can this registry be operational to avoid corruption? And lastly, Mr. Speaker, the issue of community land, just to ensure that the unregistered community land is registered so that we can safeguard the community land. There's one question a Kenyan has sent me on corruption in the Ministry of Lands. There are so many officers who give good searches for fraudulent land. I mean, I think the most corrupt, and that is what that Kenyan is saying. You go to the Ministry of Lands, you give somebody kitu kidogo, and you get whatever search you need. How will you streamline this, and how will you ensure that those who are caught culpable actually pay for those damages and action is taken against them?
Master?
Just a point of information.
Yes.
Chair, I just want to warn the minister that nominee for the ministry. Yeah. What's wrong with you?
Why warn him?
I just want
caution or warning?
I want to caution. I didn't warn. I want to caution. I didn't say I want to warn him. That it was out of wisdom, and I can tell you, because there's a corrupt in this country. You can imagine if files were at the district level, And they can see today we have problems even at Nairobi. So if the files were at the district levels, the kind of corruption that you'll see, people selling, changing titles here and there, I think to be worse. So nominee, you look at it critically and with wisdom, because if you say you remove this and take them to the provincial headquarters or regional headquarters, you'll see for yourself the kind of problems you get into.
Point of information.
Let's have a master.
I have the floor. Thank you, Speaker. I think it's tight a little bit on my question, but I want it the answer clearly brought out. One of the major challenges, Mr. Nominee for lands, to proper urban planning and housing is improper planning or lack of it and inadequate infrastructure to support the population. And this has resulted to poor drainage systems, air pollution, and congestion. If you come to a town like Busia, in fact, most of the times, we get people calling us to ask, it's like I've reached Busia, but where is the town center? So you will appreciate what it means to have proper planning for our urban centers. So what are what will your ministry do if we approve you? What will you do to address these challenges? Thank you.
You can answer those, Zacharia.
Thank you, Mr.
The
Chairman.
5. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I'll start with the last question.
Point of order, Chair.
Yes, sir.
Would you be fair to tell the Sergeant at Arms to restrain the noises from outside so that the nominee can have some ample time to answer us? Thank you, Chair.
Sergeant, with your team to ensure there's absolute tranquility in here and out there. Proceed, Zacharia.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try to answer the last, start with the last question of urban planning from Madam
Mary Emase.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, we have the physical and lands use that should be put into proper use. Apparently, Mr. Chairman, this act, if not properly done, and basically planning and physical planning is a devolved unit. Hence, what I would do is to make sure that we work together with the counties so that when they are coming up with such planning, physical planning activities, we consult and we bring it to the national spatial plan. Because if we do differently, then it will mean, Mr. Chair, that we'll have so many urban plans that will not be tying with the national spatial plan. So that's just collaborating with the county government, and I'm sure that problem will be sorted out. On corruption in the land docket, this is an issue that many people have been telling me about. And one thing I know, Mr. Chairman, corruption fights back. And I know in the land docket especially, we've had issues that really make work very hard in serving Mwananchi. Once I'm there, Mr. Chairman, I want to promise, and the medicine for this is digitization, but it should be properly done. You know, while I was in school, Mr. Chairman, we used to talk about GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So whatever you put in that system, is the results, don't expect better results if what is in the system was not good. So what I'm saying here, Mr. Chair, is that once we do the proper audit of that ADISASA platform, I believe that will be the way to go. Many problems and issues that honorable members have raised here is because of that, of the manual system. My take to this, Mr. Chair, is that for any new system to work, you take them together with the old one, parallel, and then once the new one succeeds, then you slowly pull the old one. But it would be not right to start a new system and immediately kill the old one. So we should have that backup, and also still the old system, if there are files, they should be archived just in case in future they will be needed. The other question was on the national from Honorable Junet. It's true. Once we digitize, Mr. Chair, I think it will be very easy now to decentralize the registries, because the problem would be now with the manual kind of system that we have, interference with those files, is very easy. But once we digitize, I believe most problems that we are facing in the land docket will be a thing of the past. From Honorable Deputy Speaker, the KDF and NIS, I've heard about it. I can't, NIS, NYS. You'll allow me, Mr. Chair, to handle that once I get into office, because I believe the ministry has competent officers who should be doing this work, because the others belong to some other place. So I will handle that once I'm in the office.
Through the Honorable Chair, with your permission, you were there yesterday.
Yes, I was.
And it was being posted on social media.
Sure.
Why Farida Kwarane was taking you around.
Yes.
So did she take you to the 10th floor or not?
She took me.
What was happening on the 10th floor? What's happening on the 10th floor? Because Kenyans would like to know, because the rest of us have no access.
Well, there were files, many files, and the information I got is that that's where the process of digitization starts. Before those files are taken to Ruaraka, I was also there. I was taken round. And I am promising the gray areas that we are all aware of will be handled once I'm in office.
So the KDF guys, are they like conveyancing specialists? Or what qualification do they have over and above the normal lands officers?
Mr. Chairman, I've just said, actually, I didn't see any people in KDF uniform. So if they are there, then I'll handle that once I am in office. Thank you.
Yes, Jeanette.
Chair, I wanted to seek your indulgence on a matter that has been rampant yesterday in the social media.
Yes.
The issue of nominees who have appeared here, and the committee was done with them, and then they end up reporting to the offices and taking pictures there and being taken around. It's not only him, there are many of them. Chair, this process ends on the plenary of the House. Until you put the question on the floor of the House and the question is passed, they remain nominees. They are not as, they have no duty in those ministries.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All nominees coming before this committee remain as such nominees, subject to the report of this committee, presentation to the plenary of the National Assembly, and a vote taken on each and every one of them.
Thank you,
Yes. Excess enthusiasm may not be helpful. Yes, can we have the last batch? Mole, Zacharia, just the two of you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And this goes to the nominee. I've heard you talk about lands, I've heard you talk about urban development. But there's an issue whereby I want to hear from you, which regards land which was owned by corporate society of our old generation in this country. For example, what Ichungwa started with, the Mbakasi Ranching Cooperative Society, Matungulu Cooperative Society, Kayata Cooperative Society, Koma Ranch Cooperative Society, and many, many ranching societies and corporates which owned huge chunks of land in this country. And because the other citizens of this country, maybe they are passed on, their generation, some cartels within the Ministry of Land and outside the Ministry of Land have decided to descend on these properties owned by the older generation in this country. I want to hear your view. Are you going to do a mop-up of registry of all the society-owned land in this country and make sure that they benefit the right beneficiaries of those grandpas and grandma who spend a shilling or two to buy that land from the white settlers? I want to hear from you. If you do that, God will bless you forever.
Zacharia.
Thank you, Chair. Mine actually is not it's just a comment, Chair. It's just like when Honorable Soipan came, Sholei gave a good account of Soipan. We were together with the nominee as councillors. And by the time he was being nominated to the seat of finance as a chair, the municipality then, the workers had not been paid for 9 months. And within 1 year, Honorable Chair, Zacharia Njeru was able to negotiate with banks, and so he's a performer. He can be able to, that's all I'm just trying to say. He's an A student, and he can be able, and I know once given this opportunity, he will be able to perform. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Zacharia, we've come to the end.
Okay.
Answer Mule, then we close.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, the issue of cooperative society. Mr. Chair, maybe I will establish, if approved, whether these cooperatives had titles. If not, because I believe maybe those which had no titles are the ones that have been invaded by outsiders. One thing I want to make it so clear, Mr. Chair, is that cartels, if they are working in cahoot with officers in the ministry, I can assure the honorable member that, Mr. Chair, that thing will be handled. I'm going to map up all those cooperative files and make sure that that land remains with the right owners. Thank you.
Mr. Maina, in case you are Njeru, sorry, in case Zacharia Mwangi, in case you are approved for this nomination, several things you need to address. The integrity of the title deed in Kenya. Why would one parcel of land have a title upon another title and a third one upon the first two titles? You have to sort out this. Excessive land fragmentation, especially in high potential agricultural areas, is compromising our food security. Reckless development in mushrooming urban areas without proper planning. No sewage, no roads, no services. You have to address this. The chaotic situation in the lands ministry and lands departments is the cause of all this you are calling cartels, because people thrive in confusion. Throughout the presentation, I've not quite clearly heard what you plan to do to bring sanity to the lands department in the country. I know there are certain issues that will be dealt with county governments, but you will provide policy direction and you will be able to engineer what to do with national land. Why do we have a country where people just walk onto public land and own it without any process and create titles and take them to banks and get loans, and they know the land is not theirs? What are you going to do about this? You've been given a very challenging docket. And like when I asked Andy Chungwa, you must bring new skills, new ideas, and perform better than anybody who has been there before you, to change and give Kenyans hope that when I buy land and have my title, it doesn't have to become a nightmare that tomorrow I'll find somebody settling on it and wielding a crude weapon against me when it is my land. What do you say to that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's true what you've said is critical, and it's a real sad affair that the ministry...
And don't try ever anywhere say a title deed is a mere piece of paper. Don't ever.
Sorry. Thank you.
It is a sacrosanct document.
Thank you, Chair, for that correction. What you've said, Mr. Chairman, is it's a sad affair that the institution that has been mandated to offer a very critical document like title and other land-related documents and services has always had problems. My take on this, Mr. Chairman, is that once this committee approves my nomination, I'm going to have a conversation with the staff that work there. Maybe they could be demotivated, but as I said in my introduction, Mr. Chair, I said I'm a team player. But at the same time, I am a go-getter and I'd want things done right. Because if that is not done, then my work and the work of any other person there will be of no use. So my message to them, whom we'll be working together, is to know that I am a team player, but at the same time, things should be done right. And we should be doing whatever we do with the one aim, making sure that service provision for Wanjiko is mandatory, na sio tafadhali. Thank you, Chair.
Speaker.
Just as you leave, Mr. Njeru, I think as you go, I want you to go look into the issue of the clash between the National Land Commission and the Ministry of Lands. The National Land Commission was established to deal with only public land, which is 5% of the land in Kenya. But now they have, without any legal process, have taken over the management of community land, which is 85%. You also need to look at the issue that the records are with the Ministry of Lands, but the National Land Commission is now creating parallel records, because if that's not dealt with, that is the only wealth Kenya has, and it's going down the drain. Thank you.
Thank you for
Zacharia, now I give you...
Mr. Speaker, just on a rider on what Deputy Speaker said to the nominee.
Yes, Male.
With all due respect, if this committee approves you, you need to sort out the mess between the lands office and the county land offices, because That's where Kenyans are suffering more because of the confusion of county government and the national government on issues of land management.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zacharia. I now give you 3 minutes to tell us your final wish to this committee.
Thank you very much, Chairman and the members. I want once again to thank the committee for giving me that time to engage and get to know more about me. And also, again, thank His Excellency for giving me this chance to, or rather nominating me to this very Herculean ministry. But my promise to Kenyans is that I will work for you. I know this docket is challenging, but with proper leadership and engagements with wananchi, I know God will never give you a task that you cannot handle. To my colleagues in the ministry, my appeal to you is that we work together with the sole purpose of serving the wananchi. And to people out there, I want to tell you that no matter where you come from, always work hard, pray hard, and mbele itakuwa sawa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zacharia. You are now released to go back to your other duties. Sergeant, you may show the nominee where to leave. Make sure if you gave your original documents, you take them back with you. Members, we have for today one more. I'll give you 5 minutes stretch. We start at at 17:51.
A little more than 50 years ago, a group of cooperators came together to plant a seed. From these strong roots, and with God's blessings, that seed today is a strong, big tree. The Cooperative Bank has grown to serve not only the needs of the cooperative movement, but also by helping unlock new opportunities. Kingdom Bank enables the growth and prosperity of a rich diversity of Kenyans across our great nation and beyond. Through innovative products, harnessing new technologies, and by striving to meet and exceed the needs of our customers in a fast-changing world. And even though we now serve more than just the cooperative movement, we take a lot of pride in our roots. We are the Cooperative Bank. We are you.